Imagine capturing something on camera that chills you to the bone. That's exactly what happened when a man's camera caught a terrifying sight on the beach. But that's not all. There are more unsettling moments caught on camera that will leave you questioning what's real. Here are 20 terrifying things discovered on the beaches. Number 20. Massive shark washes ashore. A group of people on a boat off the coast of Massachusetts came rather too close for comfort with an absolutely massive shark. It swam alongside the vessel for a while and rather thoughtfully allowed itself to be captured very clearly on some lovely drone footage. This shark was so very large that it really did set off all the questions, perhaps legitimately, of whether this was a megalodon. I mean, probably not, those things are extinct, but it is one big-ass shark nonetheless. Megalodons were a species that were believed to be the largest shark to have ever existed, and it's been estimated that the adult megalodon might have been as long as 30 feet. But some people, there are always a few now, aren't there, they reckon that the megalodon was 80 feet long. This shark in the waters off Massachusetts is no such creature. While it may be big, it is basically harmless. This is a basking shark, which happens to be the second largest species of shark in existence today. They can grow up to be about 26 feet long, so that's still pretty impressive, but sadly not some miraculous relic from a prehistoric era. Number 19. Carcass of rare fish washes up in New Jersey. Finding a dead fish on the beach might not seem like the strangest thing, but the weird thing about this one is that the fish in question was a super rare prehistoric creature that had found its way all the way to New Jersey, of all places. The Atlantic sturgeon, a type of fish that dates back to prehistoric times, was once really commonplace, but these days this particular species is actually endangered and is down to the last few hundred of its kind. So when a jogger was out exercising in Island Beach State Park and suddenly came face to face with a very large dead sturgeon, it kind of gave her the willies. These prehistoric fish have been swimming in our oceans for at least the last 200 million years or so, according to fossils that have been discovered and dated back to that time. This particular specimen was about 5 feet long and wasn't an unusual find, even for the Island Beach State Park officer who had been called to the scene. I just wonder if they put up a cordon and lined the body with chalk and interviewed witnesses in this kind of situation. Number 18. Blue dragons on Texas beach. These teeny-weeny little dragons had a whole load of Texas wildlife experts scratching their heads and watching their step when they began washing up on the shore at Padre Island National Seashore in 2020. People began collecting them up for a more close look. The little blue dragons, well, they're actually a really rare kind of sea slug, measuring only about 3 centimeters or just over an inch long, and have a surprisingly unpleasant sting. In fact, although these titchy little dragons don't breathe fire, they do prey upon Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfish. Surprisingly, these animals hunt the big, bad jellyfish in order to steal their stinging toxin. Then, once they have a hold of the dangerous juice, they turn it into their own defense weapon against other predators. And despite their seemingly innocuous appearance, these little rare sea creatures can actually deliver a hefty sting. And although the people on that Texas beach were fascinated by the blue dragons, they were extremely fortunate to avoid being stung. Maybe it's just best to avoid poking something if you don't know what it is in general. Number 17. Algae bloom off Chinese coast. This video shows just how gross-looking this mysterious stuff can actually get. I mean, I wouldn't want to take a dip in this weird green stuff, would you? In 2010, local authorities and residents in a city in China struggled to remove a massive amount of green algae that had been washed ashore on the beaches of a popular coastal tourist destination in East China's Shandong province. The foul-smelling green algae, known as something I can't pronounce, had formed on a strip that was almost 10 feet wide and hundreds of feet long on the island's beach. The North China Sea branch of the State Oceanic Administration reported that the floating green algae had covered a 150 square mile area in the waters that were south of the area. And as soon as it was discovered on this beach, staff from the government, tourism companies, and coastal residents began their cleaning up efforts. The local government deployed 66 vessels to clean up the algae and 4 additional boats to monitor its movement to prevent the algae from reaching the shore. A net would be set up offshore, while hundreds of people participated in the cleanup either on land or at sea. The removed green algae was either used as livestock feed or buried as fertilizer for farmland, as directed by officials. The spreading green algae had a significant impact on beach tourism, causing the number of visitors to drop from over 5,000 to only a few hundred. Number 16. Fanged creature found on Texas beach. A peculiar discovery on a Texas beach left people both unsettled and intrigued, prompting them to ponder what on earth this weird, gross thing could have actually been. People are seemingly always baffled with stuff that washes up on the beach. You know, we go around most of the time with a fairly solid idea of what stuff is, but show us a thing on a beach and we're all utterly clueless. Go figure. Fortunately, some so-called experts have shed light on the matter, although, are there actually experts in weird beach shiz? Who could possibly say? This unusual sight was spotted at Bolivar Peninsula, a 27-mile coastline northeast of Galveston. The grayish mass was a kind of symmetrical shape with frilly bits on its outside and maw-like formations with sharper teeth towards the top, as you can probably see in the picture. While the sight disturbed a lot of people, some individuals found the mysterious mass strangely familiar. It turns out that it wasn't a sea creature or even an extraterrestrial entity, but rather the remnants of a fish that had been caught and filleted. Well, what do you know? Yet again, people have been rendered totally brainless while on a beach. Experts from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department confirmed the conclusion, saying that the feathery parts are the gills, which are then attached to the bony arches. The spiky bits in the top middle were potentially teeth, and they couldn't identify the species, but it was believed to most likely have been a large sportfish. Mystery solved, and it all turned out to be really, really boring in the end. Now it's time for today's topic. During an early morning walk along a secluded beach in Florida, a man stumbled upon something that has left the world stunned. Lying on the sand was a strange, unidentifiable sea creature, unlike anything he had ever seen. The creature's body was slimy and translucent, with jagged fins and appendages that seemed almost alien. Shocked, the man quickly captured photos and videos before alerting local authorities. Within hours, officials arrived and cordoned off the area, isolating the beach from the public. Witnesses reported seeing scientists in hazmat suits examining the creature before it was carefully removed. Authorities have yet to release any official statements, fueling speculation about the creature's origin. Some believe it could be a deep-sea species brought to the surface by recent storms, while others suggest it might be a previously unknown marine animal. Conspiracy theories have also emerged, with claims that the creature could be of extraterrestrial origin. The beach remains closed, and the lack of information has only deepened the mystery. Was this a glimpse of an undiscovered species, or something far more extraordinary? For now, the strange creature has left Florida residents, and the world questioning what else might be lurking in the ocean's depths. Number 15. Mysterious mermaid on beach in England. Here we have an alleged discovery of a mermaid corpse on a beach in Norfolk in the UK. For starters, this is not really the usual depiction of a mermaid. It's especially gnarly and unpleasant and really not at all suitable for any person of a sensitive disposition, especially a mermaid fan. So I hope you've closed your eyes if that is you. Otherwise, we'll examine this gross discovery a bit further. Right then. Of course, this is definitely and totally for real, and there's nothing in the least that is any bit suspect about any of it, for sure. Apart from the fact that this is not only super fake, it's also super creepy. I mean, who in their right mind actually goes about constructing a corpse like this one? And then, how do you really do it? What parts is this made from? It's like a dead, desiccated human body with a shriveled up old fishtail. Now isn't it? That's all not very magical at all. This beach find was uploaded by some guy on Facebook along with the caption, "Today at Great Yarmouth, we found what looks like a dead mermaid washed up on the beach." Well, of course you did. It's definitely a genuine, bona fide mermaid body and absolutely not in any way related to his own interests. His Facebook profile literally states that he is a keen modeler of creepy figures, and he's an active member of the horror and Halloween DIY Facebook group. Seems like we're gonna need a call into Colombo if we're ever gonna get to the bottom of this mystery. Now, I don't know about you, but I think I prefer my mermaids to stay in the water and in mythology rather than laying all crispy and dead on the beach like this one. Number 14. Shipwreck found on Florida beach. Back in 2018, a large 48-foot section of a sailing ship washed up on the Ponte Vedra beach in Florida. This particular vessel was a really exciting thing for the local researchers to get the chance to see. Probably looking at about 18th century 1700, it was believed to have dated back as far as the 1700s, offering a really rare chance to see something like this up close. It's unusual for a piece this old to wash up on the shore intact, so people came from far and wide to study it while they had the opportunity before the tide had washed it back out to sea. They documented the ship thoroughly and noted features that suggested it was once covered with sheets of copper and had several Roman numerals carved into the ribs of the shipwreck. Number 13. Rare Orfish in California. Back in 2013, a weird thing happened in California when two giant oarfish washed up on the shore within a week of each other. Not so weird, you may think, till you find out that these things are actually super rare, and they live in extremely deep waters, literally thousands of feet down. So what business they had rocking up all dead and stinky in California? Well, that's anyone's guess, really. They are the longest of all bony fish, growing up to a humongous 56 feet long. And another reason these big guys are seldom seen is probably because they taste disgusting. Described as gelatinous goo, the giant oarfish has avoided becoming a sought-after fish simply by being too gross to eat. If you've ever heard a salty old tale of deadly encounters with a giant sea serpent, well, this is one to give you a shiver. The oarfish, well, it is that sea serpent. And yes, they are real. But how much battling they actually do with fishmen in boats? Well, that's the fishy bit of the story. Already part of the myth and legend, the giant Orfish does seem to have some kind of mystical power. They're known to turn up just before an earthquake, like some kind of slippery soothsayer. And some sort of earthquake prediction is never exactly something to look forward to, least of all in California. Number 12. Strange sea creature. Back in 2016, following a series of earthquakes, New Zealand's beaches were suddenly inundated with weird and wonderful offerings from the deep blue yonder. Amongst the biggest and most unusual of objects was the spooky sea monster-shaped thing that washed up on Auckland's Muraway Beach. Startled local residents who discovered the colossal form initially thought that it was a whale that had been stranded on the sand. But as they took a closer look, even stranger things were revealed. The massive object was covered in what looked to be red locks, which were covered in barnacles. It made a spooky shape out there on the beach, and it was quickly dubbed the Muraway Monster. The speculation about its origin would continue to grow. Sadly, for all of the imaginative storytellers out there, the truth seems to have been rather more dull than the tall tales that were concocted. It looks as though this was simply a really big piece of driftwood that had become covered with gooseneck barnacles, a kind of crustacean that attaches to surfaces along shorelines. Oh well, sorry about that. Number 11. Mysterious sphere washes up in Japan. Early in 2023, the Japanese authorities were baffled by a mysterious metal ball that washed up on the shore of a beach in Japan. This bafflement turned out to involve a lot of standing around with hands on hips and staring at the object, and then, naturally, all the speculation began. Oh yes, nothing gets past you, eagle-eyed online liners, and a mysterious orb was too tantalizing a prospect for internet people to resist poking into. So I'm gonna say what I know you're all thinking. Aliens. Yes, it looks far too UFO-like to be anything boring like a lost mine or a bit of something that dropped off of a cargo ship. It has to be aliens. Then, of course, there were speculators who enjoy a more international espionage approach to their ungrounded assumptions. Plenty of those people suggested that this was probably a Chinese spy balloon. But call me old-fashioned if you will. Spy balloons are not usually made out of stuff as heavy and cumbersome as iron. Now are they? Anyways, the thing measured almost 5 feet across, and when x-rayed, it would show that it was actually hollow. So who could possibly say? All facts aside, it certainly gave everyone a bit of excitement, if only for the 14 seconds of attention span that any of us still have intact. What's next? Number 10. Big-eye thresher shark. While it may be unusual for people to ever see a big-eye thresher shark, it is a deep-sea dweller after all. It's probably much more unusual for a big-eye thresher shark to find itself on the beach being stared at. This is what happened to this unfortunate creature that washed onto the beach in New Zealand and had its picture taken by a whole bunch of people. The picture was then sent to the Department of Conservation, whose shark expert confirmed that it was a big-eye thresher. They live in tropical waters usually but at great depths. This is why they have such crazy big eyes, so as to be able to see their prey in the darkness of those waters. Number 9. The Montauk Monster. Back in 2008, a gross, bloodless, and bloated body washed up on the shores of Montauk in Long Island, New York, and everyone freaked out. Well, probably wouldn't you? Anyways, this creature that soon became known as the Montauk Monster was spotted there on the beach, all dead and gross and stuff, and then it was just suddenly gone, and nobody seemed to know why. That's the perfect way to ensure that a mystery remains mysterious. Plenty of people weighed in with a bunch of dopey ideas, as people are wont to do, and the myth of the Montauk Monster was born. There was the speculation that it was a strange mutant creature that had been accidentally created in a lab at the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. And naturally, there were plenty of people who said it was aliens. But what do you think about it? I'm going with, it was a sheep that had been in the water for a while. But how about you? Let me know what you think the Montauk Monster was in the comments section down below. Number 8. Aapulco Creature. Here we go again with a mysterious creature washing up and baffling the bejesus out of everyone in sight. This time, we're in Mexico at Bonfire Beach in Acapulco to witness the 13-foot-long monster. Beachgoers all began taking pictures of the creature. That'll be nice in your holiday snaps. And then the authorities were called in. They stated that they didn't know what kind of animal it was, but did not think that it had been dead for very long, as it didn't feature a bad smell. It was, however, beginning to rapidly decompose there on the beach. There was a suggestion that it could have been some kind of giant squid, but then again, others thought that it was a whale. So what do you good people think that this unfortunate creature may have been before it was unceremoniously dumped on a beach in Mexico? Go on, let me have all of your ideas with the rest of the class in the comments down below. Number 7. Sea creature on Indonesian beach. It doesn't seem as if this would be an especially difficult object to identify, but apparently, people seem to be functioning on limited brain cells when it comes to stuff that washes up on the beach. According to most news reports, whenever any gross, dead, and decomposing carcass is washed on the shoreline pretty much anywhere in the whole entire world, well, they would have you believe that all the local people, the ones who have lived their lives there, well, they're all just stood around going, gosh, I'll be darned, what in the world could this possibly be? Nobody knows, I tell you, it's a total mystery, all while they stand next to a stinking, rotting heap of whale blubber. Seriously, here we are yet again on another beach in Indonesia, and people seem to have literally no idea what this massive dead whale could possibly be. The huge, pinkish, bleeding, rotting corpse was indeed a 50-ton-long baleen whale. Now, I grant you, if you're not a whale scientist, then narrowing down the exact species might be tricky, but this is clearly a whale, right? Or am I wrong? What else could it possibly be? Answers in the comments section down below, please. I know you want to. Number 6. Anglerfish on San Diego Beach. Well, would you believe it? We've yet another mystery on our hands. Why can't news broadcasters find any other way to frame a story about things that wash up on the shore? Is it inherently mysterious and completely mystifying when things that live in the sea are found on the beach? Probably not, but to news crews all over the world, it seems as though this concept they simply can't wrap their tiny minds around. This anglerfish finding its way to the shore in San Diego was just simply too weird for some people. Wash up on beaches, you don't really see this very much with other, deep-sea anglerfishes. Anglerfish are found in seas all over the world, and this particular one is found in the Pacific, the ocean that borders San Diego. They live in deep waters, mostly near the seafloor, so they're amongst the most odd creatures that will have their own source of luminescence that they use in the weird, fleshy thing that dangles out of the top of their head. This thing is their lure that they use to attract prey, like an angler with a fishing line. You see, anglerfish are really efficient hunters and not only have a whole bunch of extremely unpleasant sharp and pointy teeth, but also have gargantuan mouths. The anglerfish's massive mouth extends the entire circumference of their head, and it can also extend into such a colossal width that these scary sea dwellers can swallow prey that is twice their size. Number 5. Mystery cylinder on Australian beach. Next up, we have another mystery that seems to have actually been solved. This is a bit of metal, quite a large cylindrical piece actually, that had washed up on the beach at Greenhead in a remote part of Western Australia. To begin with, everyone and his grandmother had all sorts of opinions about it. Many of them concluded that it was a piece of the missing flight MH370. Everyone basically decides this about all the bits of junk that wash up anywhere. But then some slightly more informed people began to look closer at the object, and they had a few ideas of their own. The most convincing one is that it's actually a piece of space junk. And there's so much trash falling out of the skies these days that we should all be at least vaguely interested, if not even a little bit concerned. The detective who took a minute to actually look at the object said that the cylinder was not from any kind of commercial aircraft but actually appeared to be very similar to a part of India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle rocket. It's a fuel cylinder, and in general, these tanks drop off when the fuel is all used up and then they fall into the ocean like this one. They noted that this particular one had obviously been under the sea for quite some time and was not from any kind of recent launch. Even so, just dumping out space garbage wherever it falls doesn't really seem like a thoroughly sustainable sort of behavior, now does it? Number 4. Barnacle-covered cross on Florida beach. This next one had the religiously inclined people of Florida feeling blessed. Apparently, back in 2019, a large painted wooden cross washed up on the sand opposite the Ocean Manor Beach Resort in South Florida. The cross had been in the water a while, as it was covered in barnacles and had been battered about by the sea. Some people decided that it had been part of a ship, while others saw it as divine intervention. The cross quickly became a local sensation, with visitors flocking to the beach to see it for themselves. Some claimed it was a sign of hope or a message from above, while others speculated it might have drifted from a hurricane-ravaged church in the Caribbean. A few skeptics suggested it was simply debris from a long-forgotten shipwreck, carried by ocean currents for years before washing ashore. Regardless of its origins, the cross sparked a sense of community, with locals and tourists alike gathering to share stories and theories. The resort even reported an increase in bookings, as curious travelers came to see the mysterious cross. Religious groups held impromptu prayer sessions around it, adding to its growing reputation as a spiritual symbol. Marine experts noted that the barnacle growth suggested the cross had been in the water for several years, possibly traveling thousands of miles. Despite the mystery, the cross has become a quirky and unexpected attraction for the area. The resort has decided that they'll be keeping the cross, and they've propped it up on the beach away from the water's edge. They've said that people are welcome to come and take pictures of it. I mean, gee, thanks. That's at the top of my Florida bucket list. That one right there. A barnacle-covered old bit of wood. Ah, awesome. Number 3. Mysterious sea creature in Sydney. Well, here we are again with one of the perennial questions that seems to trouble us on the internet. What is this mystery creature? Honestly, there are hundreds of so-called mystery creatures out there that just seem to be causing us enormous concern, and then ultimately those mysteries are generally cleared up quite easily and are really not at all interesting in the end. I just wonder if this Bondi Beach creature will be any different. As the story goes, some guy named Drew Lambert was out jogging on the beach when he happened upon the carcass of some sort of creepy creature. The oddity appeared to poor old Drew to have human-like lips. Well, kind of, if you mean the sort of lips that have been injected with so many fillers that the human beneath them looks like they're forever blowing bubbles. Yeah, that's it. Drew's video of the creature quickly went viral, sparking a flurry of speculation online. Some people suggested it was an alien, while others thought it might be a deep-sea creature brought to the surface by recent storms. Marine biologists chimed in, explaining that the bloated appearance and strange features were likely the result of decomposition and exposure to the elements. The creature's unusual look was further exaggerated by the gases trapped inside its body, which caused its intestines to swell and protrude. Despite the scientific explanations, conspiracy theories about the creature's origins continued to circulate, adding to the intrigue. Bondi Beach locals, however, seemed less concerned, with many dismissing it as just another oddity washed up by the tide. But whatever this is, it's not actually much of a mystery at all, and the guy who filmed it almost immediately said that he thought it was some kind of decomposing coffin shark with intestines that had ballooned. Well, that's just lovely, isn't it? Let's move swiftly on. Number 2. Mysterious hairy blob in the Philippines. When a creature dies in water and is left to float about a bit, all kinds of gross things can happen to their body. Some of those things can make it kind of difficult to identify what the animal might have been when it was previously alive. I know this is kind of upsetting, but this is also why there are so many of these mysterious alien creature stories. Sorry to be a big old party pooper, but it's time that we focus on some facts. When this apparently mysterious hairy blob washed ashore in the Philippines, it only took a few random snaps on someone's phone and a quick upload to the old social media before a bunch of bright sparks would take it upon themselves to poke their own decidedly unqualified oars in and give the mess a good stir. Some of the extremely quick-witted suggestions would include the speculation that the unfortunate 20-foot-long creature was an old English sheepdog, I mean really 20 feet long, or a poor dead sea cow. Somewhat boringly, the local authorities stepped in to clear up the conundrum and, presumably, the rotting 2,000-kilo carcass and released a statement that said it was actually a dead whale. Yes, it turns out that when a whale is decomposing in water, its flesh can turn white and begin collapsing in such a way as to appear kind of hairy. I hope nobody was eating their dinner. Number 1. World War II bomb on Florida beach. Back in 2015, a walker on St. Pete Beach almost had a rather unpleasant surprise. They had stumbled upon an object that had washed up on the shore and fortunately decided not to go ahead and poke it with a stick or jump on it or any other kind of fiddling about, because this was a live World War II bomb. It's brilliant, but that's exactly what you would expect to find on a beach in Florida these days now, isn't it? They reported the suspicious item to the authorities, and that led to all the nearby homes being evacuated by officials. The discovery caused quite a stir, with beachgoers and locals gathering at a safe distance to watch the bomb squad in action. Experts believe that strong currents or storms may have dislodged the bomb from its resting place on the ocean floor, carrying it to the shore. The incident also raised questions about how many other unexploded devices might still be lurking in the waters off Florida's coast. Environmentalists have expressed concerns about the long-term impact of these discarded weapons on marine ecosystem. The presence of such relics serves as a stark reminder of the lasting consequences of war, even decades after it has ended. Some historians have pointed out that the Gulf of Mexico was a known dumping ground for military ordnance, making it a potential hotspot for similar discoveries in the future. They've then built trenches around the device and detonated it right there on the beach. It turned out to be a photo flash bomb, which was supposed to illuminate an area rather than cause any injuries. However, when people suggested that it was odd that something like this was in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida, they were horrified to learn that actually, a lot of unused weapons from the Second World War were simply dumped in the ocean, and also in the Gulf of Mexico in the years that followed the war. Well, that's just wonderful information to have. Well, that's all for today's stroll along the shore. Which of these scary things will ruin your summer at the beach? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, be sure to check out all the other cool things appearing on the screen. I'll see you next time.